Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool update for you from Armida. A little bit about the brand first. They were founded in 2011 out of Hong Kong. They're a very nice little micro brand that has quite a bit of street cred in the watch community, and for good reason. They're really well known for offering very nice designs for very tool style watches, of course, being very durable and just fitting in completely with the dive aesthetic while still being very affordable considering just how feature rich they are. As for dive watches in general, which is the type of watch we're looking at, some general kind of key features and design language you're going to find as a common across all dive watches. You're going to want something that's water resistant, of course, normally through a screw down crown, something tough, legible, has that dive time bezel, and a diver's extension on the bracelet is always very nice. This particular model is the A1 42mm in stainless steel. And kind of I did do a previous review of the black model, and now we're doing the blue. This was new for 2017. Kind of now in this most recent batch, they've kind of opened up you know, some of the options on there. Before there was really only one option that had the date. Now pretty much you can get a date option on all of them, and kind of all the different variants. And also now you may choose to have that orange minute hand, which I think is perfect, and you know, I think it goes really well with the blue dial version, specifically the sunburst blue. They also do offer a matte blue option, which is a slightly lighter tone, but I think this sunburst blue is just really magnificent, especially now with how much, you know, kind of the patty Seikos are catching on. That kind of blue sunburst dial, I think, is just really kind of in vogue right now in style, you know, very much trending. Of course, there's always the Squall, the 50 Atmos. That blue is always nice, and of course you guys have seen my my other blue diver comparisons, so I'm a big fan of the sunburst blue, sunbrush, you know, depending on however you want to call it. And I think that really Armida has a very strong offering here in the A1 42mm. Just to kind of cover a little bit about what we the points I made within the last video. One being that this, I kind of think of it as a modern day SKX. I think it has a very similar silhouette, and you know, it has a really cool feature set that I think is just a couple steps above the SKX. You know, that really you would have to have a really nice mod to even meet some of these, and some of them you wouldn't really be able to catch up to. One of them being the depth rating, being 100 meters more water resistant than the standard 200 meter water resistant SKX. So with that being said, let's go ahead and zoom out here, get this in hand, and talk about some of the specs. Now, this particular model, of course, the A1 is a downsized version essentially of the original 45mm A1, which is kind of their flagship model for Armida. Again, this one I actually put on an aftermarket bracelet, but it actually does have a very similar style to the bracelet that you can get from Armida. This one just has a tapering you know, a finish to it. So basically it starts out at 22mm and it ends at 18, which I prefer. You know, I just think it's more comfortable and aesthetically looks a bit better, less chunky. But as far as, you know, the look of it, it's very similar to the OEM bracelet. So that's why I figured it wouldn't be a big deal to have it here in the review. But definitely keep that in mind if you're interested in a tapering bracelet. It is very easy to get one for this because it does have the very nice straight kind of cutouts for the end links. So really anything with straight end links on it will work really well with these straight lugs. Okay, now a little bit about the specs. Of course, 42mm diameter with a 15.2mm height. This is made out of 316L surgical grade stainless steel. The crystal is 2.8 millimeters thick. It's a sapphire. It's a double dome with inner AR coating. And one of the nice things is, of course, since it is double dome, there is no distortion there. So it's extremely legible, which is very nice. Now, the bezel is a 120 click unidirectional rotating bezel. It's the insert itself is actually a coated aluminum insert that has been fully lumed. And as you can hear, hopefully, very snappy bezel, great grip on here, even with these gloves. This is really just a pleasure to turn. As far as the crown goes, it is a nice screw down crown, of course signed with that wonderful Armida A. Inside, it beats the Seiko Instruments NH35A, which is hacking and hand windable. It has a 3 Hertz beat. Basically, it is Seiko's unbranded model kind of version of the 4R35 or 4R36. So the 35 denoting just the date function, and then 36 being day date. So really popular movement. I find them to be very accurate, very reliable, and they're actually really nice to wind, and they're just an all-around great option, especially considering how affordable they are. Yeah, I was originally bothered a bit by the kind of lower beat count, but honestly, as much as I like Seikos, I can live with the lower beat count in a Seiko. I think I can live with it elsewhere as well. So the case back remains pretty much unchanged. It's solid and etched. The dial, of course, is that beautiful blue sunbrush dial. It has printed indices. It has the date kind of at the 4.5 there. And then it has hands that are painted, of course, so there's no exposed metal on the hands, painted white for the seconds and hours, and then in this particular case painted orange for the minute hand, which is really nice for legibility wise. This uses C3 Swiss Super Luminova. It's water resistant to 300 meters or 1,000 feet. As far as the bracelet goes, this is a strap code hexed oyster that's been featured here. I really like it. I liked it on the black model, so I figured, hey, what the heck, why not bring it over here? I did also have this on an orange isofrane strap, which was nice too, but of course I ended up missing that taper, and of course isofrane straps don't taper, at least not the 22 millimeter model, and so this bracelet tapering definitely was a solid selling point for me. But it's as far as specs wise, very similar. Screw-in links, ratcheting dive clasp there for the diver's extension, push button folding there, and let's go ahead and get this on wrist. So as you can see, on wrist wears really, really well. I mean, I have a 7¼ inch wrist. I think it actually wears pretty small for a 42 millimeter watch. It's that really short case. And of course it's a bit tall, but I mean, it's a dive watch. I think this is one where it can definitely get away with it. It kind of has that marathon SAR and GSAR kind of style toothy bezel to it. Really, really beautifully done, nice and angular, just very masculine and tough, rugged looking watch. And on wrist, I think it looks really, really great. Suits the wrist really well. I think it can be worn on smaller wrists. I've seen people with smaller wrists wear it. I mean, honestly, I think I could probably pull off the 45 pretty well, and that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. But things just look a bit bigger on camera when you're kind of getting a wristy there. It's going to seem a lot bigger versus when you kind of have a little bit more perspective comparable to your entire body with the watch on there. It's just going to look a little bit more, I'd say, reasonably sized once you actually figure out, this watch on a person versus just on a wrist in a picture. Still wears really well. You know, definitely check out if you want a little bit more detailed kind of as far as the wearability goes. Go ahead and check out the other video, the original video. This one really was to highlight the you know, the new option with the blue sunbrush dial and the date. I think before it was just a sunbrush dial, no date, and then of course it was just the white hands. You couldn't get the orange minutes hand. So the new orange minutes hand, I think, plays really well. It's definitely a classic dive option there. So yeah, on wrist, you know, it's heavy and substantial. It's more toolish, you know, take kind of on that classic silhouette with the 4 o'clock crown, you know, that you've seen, you know, on different Squall watches, as well as, you know, Seiko's. And which is definitely one of the reasons why it wears so well and can still have such a large crown, is because it is out of the way, so you don't have to worry about it bumping into your wrist or hand, depending on which hand you wear it on. And it just has a very short lug to lug. It's only 46 millimeters, and just has that, you know, Seiko-esque taper to the sides there, which is really nice. So really great proportions. You know, basically the current batch is going to have, you know, a couple different options for you. You can get basically, they're all with date models now, so they all have dates. There's no dates in this particular batch that's out right now for 2017. And then they have the option of white or orange minute hands, and then you have matte black, matte blue, or sunbrush blue dial, which is the example here. Let's go ahead and get a little, let's set this up here for some lume action. But while we set that up, let's go ahead and pull out a very comparable option for you, which is the Helsing Shark Diver, which is from the sister brand to Armida, except this one, you know, more traditional, I'd say, with the 3 o'clock crown, more of a almost Rolex Submariner kind of maxi style case, but definitely still very original in its own design language. Far from a homage, kind of like this is far from a homage to an SKX, but it definitely shares a lot of, you know, kind of common design language and a few little things aesthetically. Now, if you are looking for, if you really like the Armida, but maybe you just don't like the 4 o'clock crown, or maybe you want something a little smaller, they do offer a 40 millimeter Helsing Shark Diver. This particular model is out of stock right now, but this is the one with the ETA 2824. So if you want that smoother ticking second hand, that option is there. Of course, they do still have the Miyota 9015 options in stock, but it definitely very similar as far as the color code there. I want to say they're probably exactly the same. You have a little touch of orange there on the Helsing, where it's in the font, versus here on the Minutes hand. But definitely really great and fun pieces to kind of have in a collection. I think they pair really well together. Of course, there's also multiple different color options here, but I think this blue is just a really, really nice blue. Not too dark, not too light. Of course, it's going to be a little bit brighter under these studio lights, but hey, you know, can't really have it always. But let's go ahead and set up just a little lume comparison here. I'll zoom in. So these guys right here are pretty much legendary for lume. Helsing, Armida, pretty much anything that comes out of that full swing workshop normally has just about perfect lume. You really can't knock it. The C3, of course, in daylight is going to be a bit more, you know, tinted. It's going to have kind of a greenish hue, but in the dark, I mean, these guys just blast, and they really just beam. So let's go ahead and get a triple lume shot for you. As you can see, really fantastically bright. I'm hoping that the camera can pick this up really well, because it's just really, really nice. It's definitely really well done lume. If you're looking for something and you just want something that on paper, kind of specs wise, just really kills it and is just you know, kind of in as far as all of the currency when it comes to a dive watch, you know, apart from kind of heritage and horological significance. If you want something that's going to have really bright lume, you know, dependable, you know, dependable movement, great construction, build quality, you know, kind of bang per buck. Obviously this isn't a high-end piece by any means, but as far as what you're getting for the price tag, it's really tough to beat. And, you know, you're getting sapphire, you're going to get you know, 300 meters water resistance, you know, 500 meters water resistance if you go with the Helson. So really just fantastic options. You know, I do plan on also doing kind of a micro brand roundup video where I just kind of address some of my standout kind of choices from micro brands, you know, to include Helson and Armida. But, you know, a couple other brands that have really caught my eye that I think are really doing great things right now. There's definitely a really cool value proposition for micro brands. And, you know, as you've seen from a couple of my videos, sometimes those micro brands really kind of ascend out of the micro brand territory. And, you know, those watches can, you know, start becoming a little bit collectible, which is nice, especially because even if they kind of hang out in that micro brand level, they can become very collectible in that every batch can be different. You know, for this Helson, you know, there aren't very many ETA models that were in that run, especially in the more current run. So guess what? Now that makes it a little bit more desirable. If I was a watch flipper, that's something that would be really good news for me, because I could sell it and, you know, it's more desirable, especially with the metal, the engraved insert versus the sapphire insert. So that's one of the really cool things, you know. Hey, maybe they'll do more runs with the orange hands, maybe they won't. And then now that one will be a little bit more desirable, a little bit more collectible, and hold its resale value a little bit better. So that's just some stuff to think about. You know, comparable models, of course. You know, we have the Helson Shark Diver in there. I could probably also compare it to the SRP Turtle reissue, you know, a modded SKX. You know, bottom line, you get a lot of watch for the money, and you know, it's a very solid niche player in Armida, you know, in kind of the non-homage, you know, great alternative to a Seiko mod. So let's go ahead and pull this off the screen there. And, you know, basically, if you want a modern SKX, or maybe if you just want to mod an SKX, before you spend the money, maybe you should look here, because I think Armida really has something special in the A1. It's just, it's one that is very recognizable when you see one. If you've ever been on the forums, if you see somebody wearing an Armida, you kind of know that they're a watch guy, right? It's not like, you know, there's more mainstream kind of quote unquote fashionable brands that you never know. They might have just bought it at the you know, at the department store or Costco or something like that. Here, this is something that kind of speaks more to that, you know, watch insider. So I think that's just really cool. And you know what? Let's go ahead and get another look at this lume. Just fantastic. I'm not even going to recharge that, and you guys can see this lume is killer. So with that said, go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the space below. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you like the video, please do hit like. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.